Welcome to our second example of simulation models in Excel. We're moving on to number 2. Let's just read it once and get an idea of what's happening here. It's a very simplified model, a simplified problem rather, just to get certain simulation concepts with Excel. Get comfortable with that. Higgins Plumbing and Heating maintains a supply of 8 water heaters in any given week. Owner Jerry Higgins likes the idea of having this large supply on hand to meet customer demand, but also recognizes it's expensive to do so. He examines water heater sales over the past 50 weeks and notes the following information. So, even though he has only 8 in stock, sometimes the sales do go over, so he's going to miss a little bit there. We want to set up a model to simulate this situation over a 2-year period, 104 weeks. This is per week, this information. And I want to compute average weekly sales and so on and so on. Okay. So let's get set up here. So I've done some of the layout stuff for us, mainly the frequency table here, the supply. You can do much more with this problem, but we're just looking at the very basics to get used to the Excel portion. So I can do a little total here maybe. Total and I just double check, do I have the number of weeks that they talk about? Yes, I do have 50. Okay, good. Just clear some cables here. Hold on. There we go. Now I have more space on my desk. Oh, hello, beep. Okay, so the probability of 4 sales happening is then simply the relative frequency, like we've said before. I'm going to fix the total there so that I can just drag this guy down and I get all my probabilities. Remember, we've set formula calculation to manual, so I have to press my F9 on my laptop to actually calculate it. The lower limits, I'll do it a little faster. The lower limit is going to start at 0. And of course end at 1, right? The lower limit, well, let's look at the upper limit maybe. The upper limit is going to be the sum of the probabilities. So the first one is going to be 0.12. Next one's going to be the sum of those two. Next one's going to be the sum of those two. The cumulative probability, if you will. So let's do the fourth one, for example. It's going to be the sum of the first 4. Okay. However, if I copy that formula, it's not right anymore, right? I can manually drag them all and adjust them. But what if I have a lot more? I don't know about that. So I take something in the middle and say, well, the top should always stay fixed where the bottom moves with me. So I'm going to click inside the top, F4, fix that one, but not the other one. Then when I drag it over, recalculate, see how it extends with me. Very nice. And I can copy it up as well. Recalculate. And the first one was just a single selection. And it stretches with me. Beautiful. Then for the lower limit, I just need to copy the end of the upper limit from the previous one. Go like that. Beautiful. Okay, so there are short, faster ways to do these little tricks with formulas and selections. Now I know that I'm going to count week 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to 104 weeks. But I like to just do a few of these and then check my formulas before I run it down to the end. Okay, so we have sales number we have to generate from our table here. Now I know I'm going to use VLOOKUP, so I want to copy the sales column over to the other side because VLOOKUP is a little uptight and can only look forward. So that's going to be my table here. Put a border around it, make it pretty, have some fun with it. There we go. That's going to be my table for VLOOKUP. Now you could make a column for a random variable, for a random number rather. Or we could just do it straight in the VLOOKUP function. There's my VLOOKUP. Or otherwise, if you don't see it on your list, you have to search for it. It's hiding some stuff here. So my lookup number, I can just type in. I'll do it here. Lookup value. Just type in rand, open bracket, close bracket. I can do it inside. Generate a random number as the lookup number. Now, of course, you have to look at the previous example first. I assume you have, so we'll do these things a little bit faster. My table array is from the lower limit to the sales number, and I'm trying to look forward. Once I found which bucket this falls into, look to the third column in that selection and return that number. Great, go nuts. And you see that if I recalculate, it's going to sometimes select 10 sales. Ooh, that's a lot. Just less, sometimes big, sometimes small, with these probabilities. The ones that had a higher frequency will occur more often in the long run. So this is, let's say, it's not necessarily what I will sell. It's more demand, if you will. They don't tell me a lot in this problem. I'm really going to look at one thing, and that is, well, two. Okay, fair enough. The weekly sales and the number of weeks I run out of stock. That is the pickle. Maybe there's a bigger situation happening here that they don't tell me about, that if I get overstocked, I can get heaters from somewhere else quickly, maybe at a larger cost, higher cost, and stuff like that, right? We're keeping it extremely simple to just practice the Excel portion, so don't overthink this one too much. Let's copy this down a little bit. What went wrong? I didn't fix my blue table. I can always do it after the fact. Click inside F4. Now when I copy it, calculate all kinds of wonderful sales numbers. Okay. So now I want to see, when am I out of stock? How often? Because then if someone else walks in the door, it could be a tricky situation. When do I have still stock in reserve? So I want to figure out how my sales number compares with my starting supply each week of 8. I put it over here. You can hard code it into your formulas, but maybe in a bigger problem, I want to change that to a 9 or a 7. Then everything will just be updated, and it's much more convenient to have this as a separate cell. I'm going to move this down a little. It's touching the total there, and I don't like it. There we go. Okay, so I want to determine if my sales number is greater than or equal to the supply number. Here for 10, in week 3, it's going to be a yes. For this week over here, it's going to be a no. For this week over here, it's going to be a yes. I used all the stock. I'm out of stock. I have nothing left. Okay, so I'm going to look for maybe something that is an if function. Oh, look at that, if. Checks whether a condition is met and returns one value if true and another if false. That sounds perfect. Let's do it over here. I want to test, is the sales number greater than or equal to my supply? And I want to fix the supply because that supply number is not going to change. The sale number is going to move with me as I copy the formula. What should I return if it's true? To make it simple, I'm just going to say 1 for yes, 0 for no. Let's copy this down so we have some room to experiment. They're not all zeros. I have to calculate, right? So I see here, okay, when this is 6, no, I'm not out of stock. 9, yes, I am. 8, I have nothing left. Let's calculate a few more. See some 10s there. Looks pretty good. So now that I have my formulas, I have two options here. I can select a few, drag them down, and guess when I'm at 104, or I can just copy the number down, because then I see the little counter updating there, and I can stop perfectly on 104. Let's go back up. Then I can copy the other ones, and then it'll maybe stop me as I get there. Yes, it slows down. Thank you, Excel. Of course, it doesn't look right until I recalculate, right? Sorry, I pressed page up way too many times. It got angry. So there we go. You see the stockout results change as the sales change. Beautiful, I like it. So now, based on one replication, this is all just for one average. I took all this space to create one replication, which is 104 weeks. So I can average that guy, all of this, not that, no, sorry, not the stockout, the sales number. This one, there we go. Sales number. I remember to close the bracket. It's up there in the formula box. So you see here that they could look at the average sales and use that as an indication of how much to start the week with. And I look and I see 6, 7, hovers around 7. So even though 8 is not going to be a perfect number every week, seems to be on average a good choice. Right? Simple problem. I can count the number of stock out weeks, how many weeks I run out of stock. By doing a couple of things, I can, based on how I set it up as zeros and ones, I can just add them up. So I could just sum up all of these, and any stock out week will contribute a 1. Everything else will contribute a 0. So that coding is really very convenient. And I see 42 weeks, 42 out of 104. That's quite a lot, even though the average didn't reflect that. A lot of times I'm running out. Well, to be proper and correct, we can look, what does a stockout mean? Let's learn something, right? If you haven't. A stockout occurs when a customer orders for a product exceed the amount in inventory. Okay, so based on that, we need to make a little adjustment here. That when I sell exactly what I have, that's not a stockout. I can very easily change that to simply have a greater than. So only when the sales is greater than my supply, that will be considered to be a stockout. But see how easy it is to adjust it. It's really not a problem to make a little mistake. I kind of did it on purpose just to show you that calculate. I can very easily make little adjustments. More so if I wanted to change my supply number. For example, if I wanted to change that to a 6, then everything is just going to be updated. And I have just one place to change it. But let's stick to the 8 for now. Calculate. I didn't have to update the stock out weeks or anything. So we see here, okay, the number of times when my sales is higher than what I have is 25, 22, mid-20s, mid to low 20s. There's a lot of fluctuation there, right? A little bit too much for me to maybe get a clear image of what's happening. So let's just double check the question here. I'm just going to jump to B really quickly. and then we'll do the rest of A. Use the probability distribution for the sales to determine the expected value of the sales, sort of a theoretical average. That if I just take my frequencies and I use those frequencies, relative frequencies, as good approximations for the underlying theoretical distribution, the expected value, just scroll in between, there we go. The expected value is simply going to be the sales number times its corresponding probability, or you can sum product it, which is the exact same thing that I'm looking to do. So it's going to take the sales number, multiply with the corresponding probability, weighted average essentially, right? And I get 0.68. These probabilities, that's the best I have to estimate the underlying true theoretical probability. So I'll take that as fact. The question is, why does mine differ from 6.88? But you see it's close. It's around 6.88. And it is going to be different. Let's say over here, the average sales number is slightly different from the theoretical, or actually approximate, expected value, expected sales value, because it only uses a sample of 104. That's all. And we can say more, the larger the sample, the closer this average, move mouse, move, thank you, average will be to the expected value. The expected value is sort of a theoretical ideal, that if the sample size increases more and more and more, I'm going to get closer and closer to that 6.88. Now, how can we do that? We can just drag this down forever, right? However, Excel is going to slow down if I go too far. What we can do next is view this 104-week period, this 2-year period, as a single replication. It creates a single average sales value. I can run that over and over and over, 200 times, let's say, to get a much better estimate of what the true average is. Let's make a data table for that, because we don't have the space to copy this 104-week 3-column 1 replication simulation over and over, right? Where's the space? The data table allows me the space. So I'll do a replication number and then the average sales number here. I want to run it 1, 2, 3. I like color. Let's get some color in here. Well, not that. This. Get off me. This color. That is going to be calculated output. I'm just going to copy this down, and I don't see the 200. Don't think I'm going to get lucky again, but I'm going to guess. 200. Let's go. Where should it be? Don't go. Oh, that's way too far, isn't it? I went too far. It's over here somewhere. Nope, I'm way off. Okay, there we go. 200. Let's clear all of that, not just delete, because I want that color gone as well. Page up a few times. Okay, so there is my data table. Now for the data table, I need to have like a empty little cell, because the data table actually does much more than we are using it for. It's going to take these numbers, plug it into the cell that I reference. It's going to be that blue one, as if it matters, then do a calculation thinking it matters, but actually it does not. So the cell that I'm actually interested in to return is this average sales cell. So now I'm going to select my data table. Luckily it's there, so Excel will slow me down. I don't have to worry. I'm going to go, maybe scroll up. Can I scroll up? Scroll up. Come on. There we go. Then I'll do data. What if analysis? Data table. There is my little data table. I want column input. Cell is going to be this blue cell. That should always be empty. Actually, it doesn't actually matter. As long as it doesn't have a role in my calculation. That's the most important thing. And there you go. F9 to calculate that a little bit. And we're done. What is happening here? Oh, 7 exactly. Wow, that's so random. There we go. So now I can just copy. Well, I won't copy it. I'll say based on 200 replications, my average sales and I can do the same for stockout weeks, but I need another data table. What do they want? Oh, I should. Okay. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. We should rerun the data table then, because we need a stockout week as well. I didn't realize that, maybe, right? It's all good. Let's make it, should we make it another color? Maybe a lighter green. And let's drag, hey, lighter green, come. Let's drag that down. My data table can be more things, why not? Down to 200, slow it down, there we go. So now I want to reference the stockout weeks, but I have to do all of it again. I have to select the whole data table, unfortunately. I like to scroll up to see, before I select data, what if analysis, data table, column input, because they're columns, dummy variable cell, go nuts, calculate, calculate, calculate. There we go. Now we have two columns because we want two things. Stockout weeks. Now let's make these green as well. So colorful. Color is nice. Okay. So now we're simply going to average these replications, or average over these replications, these 200. And that's going to give us a much more stable number. You will see very soon. Then we're also going to average the stockout weeks. Select that, lighter green interval, selection, sure. There we go. Now see, if I press F9 over and over and over, how much more the one replication differs and jumps around. It's not a lot, but it is much more than the 200 replication one. It's a much more stable and therefore accurate. Should I go slower maybe? I don't know if it records well. It's a much more slower and therefore accurate number to work with. Even the stockout weeks, right? The other one changed from low teens to high 20s. This one is hovering very close to 20 point something. A little below 21, right? Sometimes a little over, most of the time under. So I get a much better indication. And look how the average sales for the 200 replications is now much closer than that expected value. All right. Now, I don't know if the expected value, of course, is the theoretical average. So this is another example where it's very simple, where we can practice making a replication using a data table for efficient space usage to repeat the simulation, run, let's say 200 replications. More would be better, but 200 in Excel is still pretty fast to do that. All right. We have a couple more coming up, but make sure that you can do each one and understand each one fully before moving on to the next one. Until then.